And Captain America really stood out, right? Because it's just so laser focused on selling us on this character and explaining to us why he's a hero and why we should care about him as a person. I think they realized they had to do this because a hero that wears the American flag as a costume and calls himself Captain America, like that's a hard sell, right? There's going to be all sorts of baggage and assumptions that people bring to the table, which I think has not been true since the 70s. I think they really reinvented that character during the Vietnam War. But this movie really realized that it was fighting an uphill fight and it needed to sell us on first Steve Rogers and then Captain America. And I think they really do their homework in this, right? They take a lot of time to introduce us to this guy and explain to us why he's a hero before he gets any powers, right? And I think that is really I think the core of this movie, that Steve Rogers is a hero before the movie starts. And the movie keeps reminding us about it, right? One of the very first scenes is him trying to sneak past the draft board, right? Because he just feels such a big obligation, and he starts off kind of naive, maybe a little bit, or idealistic, which then changes throughout the movie. And then he picks a fight with the guy in the cinema, and then there's this iconic scene in the training camp where the general throws a dummy grenade, and Steve Rogers is the only one who jumps on the grenade. Like, all of this is before he gets the powers. And then when he gets powers, we've been primed to ask, is being a hero and being strong the same thing? That then gets linked in with the villain, with Red Skull, who has been asked the same question and came to a completely different answer than the hero. And so all of these ingredients kind of come together as a story that is not simply about, hey, we've got a character and let's have him fight bad guys for 2 hours. Like, the story is really focused on this idea of heroism, like what it even means. And so I think on that level, it's like one of the best at that particular aspect of the superhero genre. They build the story kind of to showcase this character as opposed to shoehorning this character into a story, right? Like all the set pieces and all, like the way he fights and who he fights is all tailored to making Captain America look good. A really memorable scene in this movie is when they administer the super soldier serum, and the saboteur blows up the lab, and Steve goes after the guy, basically barefoot in a t-shirt, and just chases like this Nazi spy through the streets of Brooklyn for a couple of minutes. It's a great sequence. And it's enhanced because the guy, like, he runs faster and he jumps further and he, punches harder than a regular human. But like, the choreography is not so over the top that it's just clearly just CGI vomit for 10 minutes. It actually tells a little bit of a story because during that sequence, Steve discovers his powers and his new body, right? But also it's just a well-scripted action scene, right? And it showcases like a little bit of the tension between him and Peggy Carter and everything. That scene where, and I think he messes up her shot and she said, I had him, stuff like that, right? Like there's character moments sprinkled in, but also there's just the basic choreography of it is simple. It's just a guy being chased, but it works. And it's scaled and specific to what makes the main character look good. One of the hallmarks of bad superhero movies is when you can just swap out characters and it doesn't matter because it's just energy blasts and punches. And one of the ways you can spot a good superhero movie is if you cannot change any of the characters or you cannot change the major characters. And I think that is something, like, even though the guy just runs fast and punches hard, it's still like it feels specific to him because everything is scaled and tuned for him. So I think this ticks a lot of the classic boxes of the genre and just does them well, better than the vast majority of other superhero movies.